Hello, my dear friends, Operator Starsky here, and without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, the man, the legend, Denys Davydov. Hello, my friend, how are you?
Hello. I'm not the legend. I'm just ordinary guy with a YouTube channel. Hello, Andrei. Hello, guys. Nice to see you online, live on Starsky channel.
Well, it's you think you're not a legend because I was subscribed to your channel like
Mm.
way before the full-scale invasion and everything began, and I believe a lot of my friends here in the chat as well. But despite the fact that I'm sure you don't need introduction, just in case, tell us a couple of words about yourself and what do you do?
Well, I'm an ex-airline pilot, and since the full-scale war has started in Ukraine, I started to tell about the story. Then I was in Ukraine and telling about the events, at first with my family, me, how the life changed since the war started, and later on I started to tell about the war itself, like what is happening on the front lines. I think I started to do it after Ukrainian successful liberation operation in the Kyiv Oblast and Sumy region and Chernigiv. So after it, we were all encouraged that the situation for Ukraine will change in a better way. So I started to speak about it more openly with more energy, let's say. So yeah, and now I'm the full-time YouTuber. It's my full-time job, let's say, speaking about the events around the Ukraine, and I'm here with the audience for more than 2 years already.
That is so cool that we are now colleagues. I'm trying to like jump to your level now. One thing I wanted to ask you
Mm.
is why do private pilots pursue this goal of working with big airlines?
Mm.
Is it literally because of career, or is it because of this professional desire to fly big complex aircraft?
Well, first of all, like there are two, I would say, way outs for the private pilots, how to build their career. First, if you are a private pilot, you need to pay for your own flights, and you can do it by doing some sort of the business if you are into the business and just fly the small airplanes, or you can fly like progress into commercial and enjoy your flying as commercial pilot. So it was my way at first. So I started from the gliders, but I understood that I wanted to become a commercial pilot because my family is from aviation, like the dynasty, let's say. Even my grandpa was flying in Air Force of the Soviet Union. So for me, it was like aviation around me all the time. I want to go to commercial aviation. But speaking about the flying itself, I believe that flying in general aviation, the small airplanes, will bring more joy for the pilot compared to commercial aviation. And now, for example, after being in commercial aviation for such a long period of time, around 13 years, I returned back to the general aviation, and now I pay for my flights. It's well, if you fly glider, it's not that expensive. If you fly the small airplane, it's more expensive. But still, if you are passionate about it, it will bring you the joy in your life. So I would say a little sick about aviation. That's why the general aviation is way to go. So I would say general aviation pilots go to commercial just because they want to earn money from their hobby and they want to continue the flight, and they're flying, let's say, and in commercial they'll obtain the salary for it and they'll enjoy it. But after all, it's uncomparable. Like you have those kind of the times in commercial aviation, then you really enjoy the flights, but after maybe 5 years, it becomes more routine and less romantic. So general aviation, I would say, is more romantic compared to the commercial one. Also, in commercial, you have your instructors, your managers. You depend on your schedule, on your roster. If you want to fly, you fly. If you don't want to fly, you also fly. So if you fly the private airplane, it's more free for you to go like to follow your own schedule. So now, as the YouTuber, I found it's more ideal for me to have this full-time job. Yes, I spend lots of the time for the YouTube channel, but at the same time, I spend lots of the time with my family. Then I was then I was flying in any sort of the airline. I hadn't had any kind of the vacation during the summer period of time, because it's the most hot period for the air travels. Everyone goes for vacation. So probably for me, the best solution will be to have some business, or like I have YouTube channel and continue to fly gliders and small planes. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have so many questions now. Tell me about your grandfather. What did he fly? Was it like a bomber or something else?
He used to fly. No, it was a surveillance airplane, Antonov 12. Surveillance,
Ah,
modified as the surveillance. It was like a Hitchcock with all of those antennas. It wasn't the AVAX plate on top, and Soviet Union masked those airplanes in a livery of the Aeroflot, and they used to fly it in Africa and other countries. They were wearing the Aeroflot uniform, but in fact, though, they were serving for military. And also,
that
he was
is,
flying, I think, Illusion 18 as well. Russia has those airplanes still, uh, and they are actually command centers for Russia. So he used to fly those kind of airplanes as well. And the base for him was in Kacha. Kacha, I'm
yeah.
sure it's Crimea, and by the time it was the base for those airplanes. But later on, Russia transferred it. I think not the Soviet Union, but Russia transferred this airfield to the helicopter one mainly. So now it's helicopter base, and also base for Berylev 12, quite old
Hmm.
seaplane. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned gliders. Do you enjoy flying them? And generally, what's special about gliders? I mean, they don't have like engine. You cannot take off on your own and stuff. What is the thing about gliders?
Well, the thing that you fly using the natural power, the power of the updrafts of the thermals, convention, waves, and different stuff that keeps you flying. So it's not the ordinary flight that you might have in a small airplane. Then if you want, you can descend, climb, fly, and see the ground and other very interesting places. In the glider, you fight, like it's like playing chess with the nature. You fight for your height, let's say. Then you have the height, you have the energy, you can fly. If you have downdrafts, you always in a position. So it's like complicated stuff. It's the challenging stuff, and that's why it's beautiful. At the same time, you should keep safe, like not stay within the landing range of the landing airfield, or the special fields designed for the um, landing, let's say. Also, some modern gliders, they are capable for the self launch, so they have the retractable engines, and they fly on. If you lose, for example, your lift, your thermal, you can always put up the engine if it works. Sometimes it's also, you may have malfunctions with that stuff, and you can fly like normal airplane, let's say. So but gliders, in a way, they're more complicated. I mean, the airfoil should be very aerodynamic. The glide ratio for the modern gliders is up to 1 to 60. So everything should be polished, everything should be maintained. That's why they're very expensive. Like, I would say I like Arcus M. It's the two-seater glider. It's made in Chemhirt in Germany, and the price of the unit is around 300,000 round, and it could rise. Like, it's mainly for the basic model, but it could rise. But you can like join the air club, and they have the gliders, and you don't need to buy your own glider. You just pay the rent price, and in a way, for 1 year, I spent like $4,000 for gliding flights in Alps. So I think it's more or less okay. Like, it's not too expensive as, for example, airplane.
We have a commentary from Jason Cowley. Follow the eagles, Dennis. They find the thermals.
Yeah.
Is it true? Like, do you use birds as orienteer to find thermals?
Yes, yes. Sometimes you use birds. Yeah, if you have the birds, yes. But there is the period of the year, not for all of the birds, but for specific birds like stocks we have in Ukraine. The period of the late, no, no, it's middle thing, middle summer. Then they teach their young like kids to fly, and that becomes complicated because they fly not in the thermals, they fly just to fly. And if you see the bird by the time like stocks, you may not find the thermal, but eagles usually, yeah, they show you
Oh my
the
god, I didn't
thermals.
know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That is crazy. What was your favorite thing about flying Boeing 737?
Favorite thing, uh I mean, in general, I like the airline, the Ukraine International, the altitude to the pilots and everything. So about the specifically Boeing 737, mm, I didn't find it kind of the very modern airplane, and it gives you the stuff that you fly as something that was made long time ago, like an old bomber. Especially then I transitioned from ATR 72-600, which has different modern cockpit, glass cockpit, and later on I was on a training to fly Boeing 737 Classic. Oh, it was like returning to Anton of 26 or something. So we have very old school indication and all of those procedures. Those at first were weird, but later on I like that. And yeah, the Boeing is a very robust airplane. Like on ATR we have everything is so tiny, everything is so weak. If you screw it like the frequency too much, you can even break it down. I mean, this knob. Yes, you can break it down. On Boeing, everything is so robust. So I enjoyed in that stuff, and also understand that on Boeing, if you lose engines, electricity, and everything, you can still fly the airplane. Like you have the manual reversion, you have direct connections with the flight controls, with the control column and airfoils. Yes, it will be hard to fly the aircraft in that way, but still it's flyable. So you're very calm. Then, if the worst thing happens, you can land the airplane still. On Airbus, well, there are lots of the reserves, but they don't have this kind of the feature as Boeing. But still, I would say, for the pilot job, Airbus more. If you visit the cockpit of Airbus and visit the cockpit of Boeing, you'll see the huge difference for the comfort of the pilot. And most of the procedures on Airbus are done by the system itself automatically. So you don't need to think that much and to do that stuff as on Boeing. So everything is more convenient for the pilot job, in my opinion.
I agree because in Boeing there's like all kinds of knobs and they're all different. In Airbus, like it looks very much glamorous, I would say. I don't know, the panel and everything. We have a question from viewer. Have you ever fallen asleep while flying a plane?
Yeah, many times. Like uh, then you have like 5 hours flight, especially. It's the normal procedure developed by the company. You may find it in standard operational procedures. So it's called the controlled sleep. It is regulated. You have the special timing. If your flight is, for example, 5 hours, you can sleep maybe 1 hour and 40 minutes totally, and you need to delegate your duties to the other pilot who is awake, who should be awake, but and that is how you may change the turns and sleep. But before, I think 45 minutes before approach, I think as far as I remember, you should be awake and prepare for the landing, for approach and landing, like 45 minutes ahead of descent. You should stay awake.
That is so crazy. And
Mm.
it must be, like during long flights. What was your
Yeah.
longest flight?
My longest flight, actually, it was my last flight in commercial aviation. It was the flight I flown as a passenger to Dubai as the deadhead crew, it's called. Then In a couple of hours, I was delivered to the Sharjah airport by car. There, I was active crew from Dubai to Delhi, coming back also to Sharjah as the active crew from Delhi. Again, the same transport to Dubai and coming back as the deadhead crew. So totally, it was like 27 or 28 hours you are in a plane, in a car, and according to Ukrainian regulations that works, but according to the European regulations, no. So we had the special order in Ukrainian regulations, like order 219, as far as I remember, that it regulates your duty time, and it says like if you're flying as the deadhead crew, you're resting, but actually you cannot rest flying in this not very convenient seat on 737. It's not. It was terrible, really, and I was sleeping in a cockpit at the time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was probably the longest duty I had. It was. It ended on 21st of February, 3 days before the war had started.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I look at those jump seats, like in the cockpit for extra extra people, it always makes me wonder how do people even sit in there? Like it looks so uncomfortable. Uh,
Yes. It depends on aircraft carrier. Um, but you can choose actually seats, and the distance between the seats, I would say Ukraine International was somewhere in the middle between comfort and this place for people. Ryanair is terrible about it. Wizz Air also. They put as many seats as possible. As for Garuda Indonesia, the air carrier I was flying before, they also have Boeing 737s, and they have way better seat space, and they have full business class or on their 737s with big seats. But yeah, they can afford it. It's a big airline.
oh my God. What was your favorite destination?
Europe, like all of the airfields in Europe, I cannot specify the specific destination. I like to fly in Italy, Malpensa, Milano, Rome. So German airfields, I mainly, well, it's okay, but you always have the delay. In Frankfurt, you always depart with the delay. I don't know why, but maybe it's so much too much big traffic for them to handle the passengers at the proper time. And usually we were standing in a remote stands. I know why they put us there. And it takes lots of the time for passengers to arrive from the terminal building, and you always go with delay from Frankfurt. I like to fly also to London, Gatwick. It was also my favorite destination. To Schiphol, well, everything was like okay. Sometimes I also like to fly to maybe Odessa to have just a short flight to sleep well and coming back. I didn't like the long flights like to Dubai. Dubai itself is okay, like for approach, I think nothing special, but the flight for 5 hours on 737, it's too much, as for me.
That's a lot. And Gatwick, the traffic is crazy there, as far as I
Yeah,
know.
it's crazy, but you need to, like to be prepared. Like the ADC, it's kind of easy. Actually, it's kind of easy. Control tells you everything. You just look at the chart, like for example, for departure, hold there, be ready for takeoff. Okay, okay, and the airplanes are coming, so you need to taxi out. Take nothing really complicated. I found. Yeah. There was the case, by the way. I think Paris Charles de Gaulle, the more complicated. There was the case that our guys turned to the wrong direction, so there were parallel runways in operation, and our guys put the SID, the departure standard instrument departure chart, to the wrong runway. So it was, I think, 27 right. They put 27 left, and you have departure from one runway towards north, from other runway towards south, and they departed from the northern runway southbound, so they were blocking the way for the other departing traffic from the other runway. So ATC had to call for the airplane to reject takeoff because our guys were turning to the wrong direction. and there was a huge investigation about this stuff. It took like half a year, I think, because of this procedure violations. And the particular crew who was on board, they were rejected to enter the airspace of France. So on any kind of the aircraft, France told that we don't want to see those pilots again in our airspace flying anything. So kind of interesting, because then you schedule the flight plan for the company. You have the names of the pilots sent, so they say, no, we don't want to see those guys. Like, because they did this mistake, they didn't cross-check the proper SID set in the flight management computer, so they took off to the wrong side, which actually was a serious incident.
Oh my god, I didn't know that people get punished for that, actually.
Yeah. Moreover, I would say you have also the fees of punishment. Also in Ukraine, like if you do not wear the high visibility jacket on the apron, you may have the fine. For example, those kind of the small stuff, like in police, like in traffic violation. The same you may have in aviation violations as well. There was the case then. My friend crashed on a small airplane in Odessa. I don't know why it happened, but the aircraft is no go, so he has to pay 1,000 hryvnias for the aviation accident fee. 1,000 hryvnias. It's less than, how much is that? Maybe $20, 25, yeah, for the aviation accident for this fee.
Not bad, not bad at
Yeah,
all.
not bad. Yeah.
There was a question from our viewers and from myself as well.
Yeah.
People want to know whether you like Microsoft Flight Simulator, and if so, do you anticipate the new version, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, that is expected this year?
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, yeah, I will obviously install the new version, 2024. For the previous flight simulator, sometimes I fly it because I like the ground, how they did the terrain. It's very, very real, feels real. To fly in the Himalayas, to fly in Alps, it's a good experience. About the physics, well, it's not that good. About the glider flights, it's also not that good. SkySight, or no, it's Condor Flight Simulator for gliders is much better, even though the graphics is not that good as on Microsoft. So I like to check the activity. Sometimes I even stream it on my pilot blog channel. I mean, the flights, guys, where you want to fly, we're gonna fly in some of the cities. So it's, for that experience, it's great, like to see the ground, and the weather is also nice. Like it's real, looks real, the clouds and everything. So to get familiar with flying, you may install the Flight Simulator Connect joystick and have a positive. Also, it's good for navigation. I mean, you can train navigation flights and flights between two destinations. So just for the training, to check it out. But the real flight is pretty much different. The real flying, I mean, for the feeling, for the physics, it's different.
I know that 2024 version will have all kinds of updates regarding like physics, regarding friction of your gear against the ground and stuff, and like the improved graphics, of course, gliding. But the coolest thing is the availability of doing walk-arounds, actually. So you can leave your plane and make like a walk around and check everything.
Nice.
This is so cool. And
yeah. Nice. And I'll be waiting for it too. Yeah.
My favorite thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was that for the first time, and it was the coolest thing ever, for the first time they introduced volumetric clouds. And why it's important is because it brings you another challenge. All other simulators, when you fly through clouds, you don't care. Like it's just, a bunch of sprites. Here, it's like a challenge because of icing.
No.
because
Yeah.
of turbulence, and you now have to plan your flight to follow the IFR in different VFR in different airspaces if you're flying like general aviation, small aircraft. So you have to like watch out, which is crazy. um,
Yeah, kind of interesting. The real physics is coming.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, I'm so much anticipating this one. um, Let's talk about the first days of the invasion. I know that after the Russian invasion began, you joined the local group of defenders, which, by the way, was
Yeah.
big surprise to me because back then I didn't know you personally. I was just your biggest fan on the YouTube, as always, and watching your videos talking about joining, defenders, joining militia, was a big inspiration to me personally, even though I was a military, and your video when you talk about it, it was like one of the biggest motivators to me. Can you tell more about what you were busy with back then?
Okay. So even during the January, like 1 month before the invasion, everyone was speaking about this probability. We had all of those warnings, and with my wife, we decided, okay, if something happens, we're gonna go to her village where her relatives live in Vinnytsia Oblast just for security reasons. And we just spoke it like 2 or 3 times. And by the time the invasion started, I wasn't sleeping. I was monitoring the Flight Radar 24, how the airplanes, how the airspace at first was closed by NOTAM. At first, Russia closed it on their territory. Later on, the Eurocontrol established their NOTAM all over Ukraine, and the airplanes started to avoid our airspace. In Boryspil Airport, one airplane took off and landed immediately. I think it was Skyap or maybe Ukraine International. Well, something was up to happen, and I called my wife. Okay, it's time to get our things just in case we need to go to your village. And then we hear like Putin start his comments that he is starting the war, and immediately it was very loud for us in Boryspil. We thought that it was the attack by the Russian side. We all thought about the possible strikes by the nuclear weaponry. So we took everything and went downstairs, took the car and went to Vinnytsia. We were one of the first who left Kyiv region. Still, there were gas stations working. There were no queues by the time. It was, yeah, right at the beginning. After all, I realized that all the bangs and the vibration we felt, it was because of the Ukrainian air defense operation, S-300s or something that were used to strike the Russian cruise missiles. But by the time we thought that it was a big war started, yes, it was started, but we thought that someone bombs Borispol airport, and we live like 50 meters away from the military part of the airport. So yes, it was the good decision actually to leave that house. And in the village, then we arrived. Like there was mandatory for everyone to go to the military branch and provide the data first to the local authorities and then to the local military branch of Vinnytsia. And they saw my experience and they say that like they don't need me in the army. Right now, they have lots of the volunteers, blah blah blah, with the military experience. So they told me like you can go and serve in patrolling the area, but it's just was nothing really because Vinnytsia was far away from all of those events. Yes, we heard and saw the airplanes flying, like the distance kabooms, but in general, I did nothing there. So I think I played more role filming my videos than serving there. And after it, they released me from everything and say that I am free to go home after Russians left the Kiev area. And we returned at first to Cherkasy, then to Kiev again, to Boryspil. So yeah, it was my way. Later on, we decided to leave because of the family mainly.
Uh, do you keep communicating with your colleagues, by the way?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do they generally do?
Generally, like 90% of them left Ukraine and they fly for different airlines, mostly in the United States, in Europe, in the UK, in Asian countries. So all of them spread around the world. The rest left in Ukraine. Some of them working for Skype Airlines, which also operates in Europe. I guess it's the only airline, well, together with Antonov, the only two airlines left. Well, maybe also Windrose, three airlines, which still employ Ukrainian pilots. So they go like to Ukraine, then they have the flights somewhere in Europe. They go from Ukraine and fly there. But there is the percentage, not a huge percent, but the percentage of the pilots who went to Ukrainian army. They mostly voluntarily went there to operate the drones mainly, small drones and big drones. I don't want to say the models, but yeah, we have pilots operating the drones, like ex airline pilots as well in Ukraine. Sometimes I help them with the funds I have from my own earnings. Let's say I work with them directly.
This is true, and I think I can share the secret that Denys Davydov also helped my brigade with the drones
Mm.
big time. Thank you so much for that, by
That
the way,
was a
brother.
small one. I think it was a long time ago. I think it was a small help.
Yeah, but still, and it saved life, so it's important. We have a question from Paul. Dennis, have you ever been to any American airports?
No, never been to the United States. Never ever. But want to go there as a tourist maybe in the future. The aviation is very developed in the United States, and it will be fantastic, like to fly there, especially in the mountains, Colorado, Idaho. I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to see you there. And by the way, what was your feeling when the Kyiv Oblast was liberated from Russians?
Well, it was like huge encouragement. I have a friend who lives in Mria. Mria is the village on the way from Kiev westbound towards Zhytomyr, and his village was in the middle between Ukrainian forces and which were in Kiev, and the Russian forces which occupied Matizhin, Buzovaya. They were also from the northern side, Irpin, Bucha. So his village was in the middle. Like there were some of the Russian forces sometimes, but they came and go under the fire. So his building was partially destroyed as well, like multi-story building. And he also had to leave the area. But he called me once and say, "Okay, it seems like they're firing everything towards Kyiv, like all the cannons, tanks, missiles, everything, and they're going out. They're leaving this area." It's the first time I heard, like, by the time I thought the rumors about Russia's leaving, it was okay. It's kind of strange, but could it be? And later on, I understand that Ukraine sent extra brigades to trying to encircle, and there were also materials published in the mainstream media sources that Ukraine has the chance to encircle the group of the Russian army near Busava, Matizhin, and Irpin. So the Russians, I guess, decided not to minimize the risk and to leave the area because they were not able to go to Kiev because of the Ukrainian resistance. I think they understood that it's the no way for them to advance towards Kiev with the forces they had, especially after their Chechen battalion was ambushed on the way to Kiev. Then they lost one of the generals. Yeah, it was the first time, and it was encouraging, really. Then Russians left Kiev as okay, the war is because for the first couple of days we thought that Russia went so fast, so deep south, reaching Yasnogorodka and even more. So we all thought that There is the chance for them, great chance for them to go into Kyiv. Like we thought, like Ukraine will not hold Kyiv under control, but like in our village, the village I was evacuated to, locals were really frustrated. But after the news, yeah, everyone encouraged and we understood that the war can go to the different scenario. And also
Yeah.
there was the big encouragement, at the end of the end of the summer that year, beginning of the autumn. Then Ukraine liberated Kharkiv Oblast after it was Kherson, so it was fantastic. And we all thought like the next year will be also awesome, but it didn't happen. Like now the war is mainly stuck. Now Russia has initiative on the front lines, but they're moving with the heavy losses and not that much as they moved in 2022 at the very beginning. So the war is mostly now like without major movements.
Yeah.
And I would say there is, I don't know what it might happen for Ukraine to achieve the same results as before. Maybe Ukraine requires more and more and more supplies. I still believe that Ukraine is capable, but not now with the current resources Ukraine has, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but we have a hope. We have a hope that
Yeah,
things will
yeah,
change,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
Uh, okay, we will ask this question later. One thing about Russian operation in Kyiv Oblast is very much connected with their attempt to take control over Hostomel. And basically, it was kind of good plan, but it failed. By the way, remember our trip to Hostomel in
yeah.
2022 together with Captain Tim? What was your biggest discovery there?
The biggest discovery was the amount of the wreckage and the devastation that they brought to Hostomel airfield. I was there before filming the video about Maria aircraft, and seeing that airplane in that condition, it was horrific. And definitely you can, like before I was in a village in Cherkasy, in Borispol, I didn't really feel that, but there it was really like it is a true war happened there in Gostomel. You can see what Russian peace, Ruski Mir, may bring to the country, and it's crazy how the airport, I think, requires lots and lots of funds to be rebuilt because it's absolutely no go. And the amount of the vehicles that were used, I guess someone showed the video from the CCTV cameras how Russians entered the airfield with lots of their lorries and military equipment. It was crowded, like the apron was crowded with Russian vehicles. And later on, everything of that was kaboomed by Ukrainian artillery, which is the good news as well. So yeah, thank you for the trip to Gostomel because it was really the opening for me personally.
It was my
It,
pleasure, and Max was
yeah,
so happy to see you. He's like, "Oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
Denys Davydov is coming." I'm like, "Yes."
How about Max? Is he okay? No, like everything is good.
Max is now chief of our press service. When I became a
Oh, nice.
reservist, yeah, this February, Max became chief, and we have expanded team because previously, before and during the first 2 years of the invasion, there were only two of us, which was kind of hard. And now we have quite big team in the staff in the press service of the brigade, and Max is young genius. He's extremely powerful manager, and he also he's a big fan of photography, of video. He likes to do everything absolutely perfectly, and I'm so proud that I have such a friend and colleague.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a great guy, especially with his experience. He went to the shittest, hottest spot, I would say. I think it's Severodonetsk. By the time there was the heavy fight,
Rubizh.
it was really Rubizh. It's crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember I met him in summer. He returned from Rubizh after like several months of staying there, and I'm meeting him from taxi. he walks out of taxi, still wearing like his armor and stuff and AK. And I'm hugging Max, but I see that his eyes are not here. He's still there. The stories he told me, they are absolutely crazy. I wish he could speak more freely about it in English language, of course, because when he told me about bringing bodies to the morgue and in the same car bringing candies to a local school because they had to, that is freaking insane.
Mm.
And I remember your face when you came to Hostomel, when you saw those absolutely destroyed airplanes. And guys, it was a crazy experience seeing Denys just walking around, the burned remains of AN-26, of like destroyed, my God, the Ante. It was badly damaged. It wasn't destroyed completely,
Yeah,
but really
yeah.
badly damaged, holes from those Russian rockets. And seeing a pilot, pilot's face looking at all that, it was crazy. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
don't know.
luckily there were also some of the Russian helicopters remains. Yeah, yeah,
With Chinese parts.
yeah, with Chinese parts, micro schemes. Yeah, chips, Chinese chips.
Yeah, made in like Philippines, made in China.
Yeah, they always, there recently there was the scandal also with the French developer of Thales. They mainly produce equipment for aviation, for military as well, the aiming equipment, all those screens. So they provided to Russia those screens as well for their fighter jets, Sukhoi 30, via Kazakhstan. There was the big investigation done by Ukrainian team Inform Napalm. They published a big article about it with all of the data, all of the documents, all of the contracts. So they do not only provide those screens, but they also repair those spare parts for Russia. So everything is like Russia is under the sanctions, but they do business as usual and maybe earning even more money because Russia is willing to pay more nowadays for those spare parts. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy that we still have those holes in this breach of sanctions, and yeah, it's frustrating because Russia uses the airplanes to strike Ukrainian positions directly, and the world, which should not be silent, is generally silent about those. And the Ukrainian volunteers and journalists now have to put their light on it. Like, come on, guys, what are you doing? And yeah, so not just the Chinese parts, but Western parts, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah. In your opinion, can jet fighters like Mirage, like Gripen, F-16, of course, can they successfully intercept Russian fighter bombers?
Yeah, for Sukhoi 34, it's kind of clumsy compared to Sukhoi 35, so 30. So Sukhoi 34 it's kind of the unique airplane, in in general for aviation. It has the maximum payload just 5 kilos more compared to Sukhoi 35, but it requires more crew members to operate. It requires more fuel. Uh, but Russia still uses those, like Sukhoi 34, to operate with their gliding bombs. I don't know why, but they produce those more, and basically that's why they use those. But there is not a huge difference between in data for the airplane between Sukhoi 35 and Sukhoi 34. But 34, because it requires more metal, it's more clumsy. So it doesn't have the tools like Sukhoi 35, like this powerful radar, or no, it's a good target for F-16, for Mirage, and for Gripen. There were some talks, yeah, before, like I think half a year ago, that the Gripen program is over for Ukraine. That Sweden and Ukraine decided not to speak about it, and now the last week I saw in the news that Ukraine is again speaking about Gripens with Sweden. But we had also the information from Macron that he is willing to supply Mirage 2000. It comes to the thing as we have with tanks or artillery, then we'll have the zoo again, Ukrainian army, different pilots. Just imagine the number of the pilots required for the training for the specific aircraft type and all of those logistics associated with specific aircraft type. Well, the best scenario is maybe to focus on, after all, on one aircraft type. But if we don't have enough airplanes, in that case, yes, we have to split efforts for the other types like Gripen and Mirage. We'll see how it goes. Like, we'll see. Yesterday, Russian Z channels and pro-Russian channels like Shari reported that Ukraine lost four of the F-16s. Now I have the messages. Is it true? Is it true? I don't know where they got this information from, but it's total fake. Like yesterday, there was the strike of the Russian drones on some of the infrastructure, but no. According to my channels, Ukraine haven't lost anything. Like no planes were lost.
It's important to address and to debunk those fakes as
Yeah.
much as we can, of course. We have a question from Betsy. Denys, do you miss your motorcycle?
I now took in at least the new one. So yeah, I miss my old motorcycle in Ukraine, but I have motorcycle here, so I sometimes ride it.
What
I
type of motorcycle is that?
I now have a Yamaha Tenere 700, a world
Ah,
rate with a bigger tank, and it's kind of cheap one compared to BMW. I pay like $200 per month for it, so yeah, it's a good one.
Nathan asks, you guys do automatic landings like Europe or manual landings like the US?
Europe
Uh,
and the US.
I think he talks about ILS landings.
Yeah, we do like 99, I think, percent of all of the landings are made in commercial aviation are made manually, and the automatic landing you do just in two cases. First, for the training purposes, once in a month, and also or once in 3 months, depends on your local regulations. And also, then the weather is not good. Like you do the automatic landing. ILS approach. If the weather for our airline it was if the weather is below category 1, you have to prepare for category 3 landing, like something like that.
That's interesting. I thought quite a lot of them are made automatically. But generally, yeah, generally it's because of weather. When you don't see the airfield, then you can rely on ILS and basically fly it towards the runway until you see it.
Yeah, in Ukraine it's kind of difficult because we had just one runway certified for category 3B, fully automatic landing.
Really? Which
Category
one?
3 or category 3A, sorry. It's runway 36 right. Maybe it was category 3B. I don't remember actually. Yeah, maybe it's
In
3B.
Borispol.
36 right in Borispol, yeah.
Hmm.
There was also category 2 in Kharkiv, but it was quite limited. It's not the standard category 2. It has the minimum, I think, 110 feet, not 100. Um, so, yeah, it's kind of restrictive, but there was only one runway, like category 3A or 3B in Borispol, 36 right.
I wonder if for some reason you could not become a pilot, what would you be? Like a sailor, maybe?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe engineer, because it was my idea. Like I applied for the Kyiv Polytechnical University, and also for the National Aviation University. So I thought, okay, I passed for KPI, but for engineer, aviation engineer, if I wouldn't pass for the pilot, I'll go for the engineering. So I would be probably engineer, but still connected with the airplanes, probably like that.
Of
But
course.
now everything changed. Like I would be some videographer, probably. Everything
Uh,
changed.
could be like communications for an airline, creative job. Why not?
Not maybe for airline, but in general, film something. I like the stuff, Then you're videographer, YouTuber. You convert. It's like a magic. You convert the data, the visible data, into something, into the video material, which is infinite in internet, and it brings comments, likes, viewers, views, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also the process of storytelling. This is just so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
We have some very very interesting question from our viewer.
Mhm.
Is aviation navigation systems still affected in Europe? Remember, Russians were jamming GPS signals around Kaliningrad. Do you know anything about it?
Yes, Russians have the capability to jam the GPS system. You need to have the how it's called in English. So you have to have the receiver, the additional receiver on the ground to provide the signal, the GPS signal precisely in that case. And unfortunately, it's only available for military use. For commercials, we are affected by the Russian jams, and it happens not just in Europe. Well, it happened in Ukraine many times, even before the full-scale war. After 2014, Russia jammed lots of the GPS signals on the southern part of Ukraine near Crimea. We had those issues. Then Russia started its operation in Syria. Then you fly to Tel Aviv. You also have no GPS, so you have to rely for your inertial reference system of the aircraft. I haven't experienced this stuff in Europe, but now, yes, I heard that there were reports about Russia jamming some of the GPS near Kaliningrad and near the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Not sure if they're affected right now with the GPS, but there were some of the reports as well as in NOTAMs, notices to airmen. You may also find that information that people like pilots report about the signal loss, but it's not very critical for the modern day airplanes because they have and yeah, older airplanes also had this inertial reference system and with inertial reference units. Airplanes usually have two or at least two or even three of those. They may have some of the mistake in calculations, and they update the place of the airplane using GPS, but they also may use VOR and DMEs to update their positions. And there are still lots of those conventional navigation devices in Europe, so the update may happen through them. So it's not a significant factor for navigation, but obviously with GPS, it's much better.
Yeah, Jonas says, yes, Russia is still jamming airplanes in Scandinavia. I wonder if their jammers affect only GPS or they also affect navaids like VOR and DB.
Oh, I haven't heard about it. Never. Like, I think just GPS. Well,
Yeah, because those things, they're pretty old and robust, and
yeah,
it takes some effort to jam all of them, I believe.
yeah. I think they're also kind of powerful. I mean, VR DMEs, they're quite powerful.
Yeah. Do you like to travel? And what was your favorite destination, for example, in Europe after the Russian invasion?
Yeah, I like to travel. I like mountains, Carpathian Mountains. I like Alps as well. The place that I like the most for the climate, for the mountains, I think is the south of France. Yeah, there is pretty much everything is good there, on the south of France, and it's fantastic destination for vacation and for everything. Kind of strange architecture, like the houses look not so great, but from inside they're okay. I think it's done for because of the heat they have during the summertime. But I like the south of France. Yeah.
Because this is my channel and because we always talk about it, what is the best local food you have tried there in your area?
Schnitzel.
Of course, of course.
Schnitzel and sausages. That's they have the like German made food and like very similar to German. And I like Ukrainian kitchen after all. Ukrainian cuisine. Yeah. So it's similar to the European cuisine in general, but Ukraine in Ukraine you have lots of the soups. Here in Europe, maybe mushroom soup is the best one I tried from the white mushrooms. Like other than that, I prefer vareniki, borscht, and that's it.
Bratwurst.
Bratwurst, yeah, bratwurst. It's also nice, but it's kind of simple.
My God, they sell, they sell like this stuff that tastes pretty much like Ukrainian tushonka. It's
Mm,
called knackwurst, I believe, and
mm,
it's basically like tushonka. Only it's a proper meat without nipples, genitals, hooves in the jar because
mm.
like it's really really nice. But do you like beer? And if so, which beer do you prefer?
I try not to drink alcohol at all, but I don't have like preferred beers or something. Sometimes I drink like some wine and or champagne. It happens very rarely. In France, then I made my Czech flight. I drank the local beer. I think it's called Elf or something. Or I don't really recall the name. I recall that it was like yellow amber color, and it was nice. Like it was 7, I guess, percent alcohol, and it was nice. Like good one. Yeah, it was just this year. Yeah, in spring.
We have a really cool question from Debs. Has Dennis ever kicked anyone off a flight for being disruptive?
And well, that was the case in Ukrainian International Airlines. Then I kicked someone. Yeah, it was the pair of our tourists coming back from Antalya. They were okay, but they were too much drunk. Like they were no there at the time. So the couple, just the couple, they were elderly at the same time. It's quite strange, but they were really drunk, and I didn't want to take the risk for them to feel very bad and with takeoff because in commercial aircraft you still experience the altitude of around 2,700 meters. Then you fly, like the pressure inside the cockpit gives you this altitude, and you don't know how their bodies will react on that. So I just told them to offboard the aircraft and fly during the next time, during the evening at least. Um, and there was the case with in Russia, because I did my line training in Russia, and we had lots of the flights between Kharkiv and Moscow, Nikolaev, Moscow, Luhansk, Moscow, Odessa, Moscow. Yes, it was also the flight on ATR, and I was the first officer, and we had the fight on board. But it wasn't like in the flight itself. We landed because of the bad weather in Kharkiv. We landed back in Moscow, and there was one guy who was fighting with our flight attendant. Yeah, it was interesting. So then I opened. I thought everyone is already off board the aircraft. I opened the cockpit door and I saw how our flight attendant, male, also was fighting with a guy. who said like, I will not go from the airplane until I'll be delivered to Kharkiv. Like, I'll stay here. Yeah. And there was the fight. Like, we called for the Russian special services in this case, but they hesitated to arrive. I don't know why, but they arrived like 40 minutes after the passenger disembarked, or after all, on his own.
That
Was
is
interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, we were
We
flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were flying to Vnukovo airport. By the way, it's the home base of Putin and his company. And it was kind of terrible to operate with this airfield, because then Putin flies somewhere or arrives, the airfield is blocked like for whatever reason, whatever time, like 2 hours, 4 hours. No one cares. Like, they ground everyone. It was
I,
terrible to operate.
I didn't know about that. We have two questions that are pretty much similar. Who are the
Mm.
worst passengers? Which country? And were Russian passengers more difficult than others?
Mm, I wouldn't say so. Like, everything was more or less the same. I haven't got any kind of the very bad examples of the passengers behaving very wrongly during my entire career. Like, I don't have anything to recall about this stuff. There were no like outstanding cases. Yeah.
And returning to food, maybe not to food, maybe other
Mm.
things. What makes you personally? What makes you happy? What do you do to keep your sanity?
It's aviation again, and probably family. Yeah, you need to have the hobby. Absolutely, it will. It's not about, I don't actually like what I do on YouTube. I mean, this topic. It's not my job. That's why I do it. But I try to find some other activities. For example, hiking in the forest. Yesterday, I shared it on my Telegram channel that we collected some of the mushrooms in the forest. So stuff like that, And the aviation, obviously, it's the part of the hobby, because you can go insane, like you're reviewing the dark stuff, the war, speaking about it all every day for 2 years, I think. And it's not the topic I would like to really honestly speak about. Hopefully, then the war is over, I'm gonna change to some other topic, maybe traveling, maybe I don't know. I'll try to find my niche. The aviation topic is great, but it's not. It will not be like a full-time job for you, because it brings just a fraction of the views compared to what you have reviewing the war in Ukraine. But I think it's my duty to tell about the war in Ukraine, also some sort of the counter propaganda. So I don't really like the topic, but I like to discuss, to put my effort and to uncover some of the stuff that I see from the Russian side as well, how they manipulate with the Western viewers, with the current agenda. And yes, I want to give just a counter propaganda to be useful in that stuff. And yes, it's my full-time job, so I earn from Google AdSense and earn from my subscribers who support me. So yeah, it's great.
Considering that you're a pilot and your life is basically full of absolutely incredible experience that a lot of us can just dream about, what would you advise to people who yesterday asked me how to fight apathy?
Empathy.
Yeah, apathy.
Yeah, I understood. Just to make, I'm not the exclusion. I have that state as well. The hardest thing is to start something. Like, I have the apathy. Then okay, I need to do some business, like to go through. I don't know, record the video, and I don't know what to say about, and I need to to start to review, to start to search the topic. So it's hard to start to do it, but then you start, everything is good. Like, the important thing is just to start. I think that's. That's the main thing, and it's like that in every sort of the business. The main thing is to start. Like I'm studying the German now, and it was really hard for me to start because you see, oh, German language is so huge. I will never learn it because it's very complicated. But then you start, you can receive information partially, and after all, it's not that complicated if you split the topic into those small parts you need to learn. So, yeah.
Ja, Deutsch ist interessant, aber sehr
Yeah.
stressig. Sehr stressig. And I would probably say, final question for today. Can you tell people who probably hesitate yet and didn't make their choice, can you tell them why it's necessary to support Ukraine?
I always tell it on my videos. Ukraine's like if we let Russia to do what it does in Ukraine, it will encourage not just Vladimir Putin but other dictators around the world to achieve their goals in this military force manner, in this aggression way, and it will put our entire world under the huge risk because the main the main thing that was holding those dictators from the actions was the capability of the normal like countries to withstand against their aggressions. If we let Ukraine alone, those dictators will see that they can push Western countries that West is weak, that they can achieve their results by using the force, and it will be chaos. Like Taiwan, Middle East, Korea, everything of that will be on fire. Europe also, Central Asia, everything will be on fire in that case. And it's kind of complicated because we see that there are some of the politicians in the West saying that the United States now needs to separate from all of that process, that NATO is not that organization that really stands for the security. We should reform NATO. We shouldn't protect NATO countries. Also, I heard like that from some of the politicians. So that rhetoric is terrible, actually. That rhetoric really can put our world at the edge of the Third World War. Like it happened actually with the Second World War, then there were this documents signed by Hitler and Chamberlain saying like, okay, you can occupy those territories, and okay, I brought the peace to us. Hitler will not attack anyone else, but Hitler did it. The same will happen with Russia. It's 100, it's million%. It's understandable for everyone, but for some of the politicians in the West, unfortunately, it's not understandable. So that's why Ukraine is very important, because we are the part of this. Yes, Ukraine. We have the corruptions, like we have it's not the perfect government, but Ukraine aims towards democracy, all right? So we have elections. Zelensky, I have my own personal attitude towards our president. Yeah, but he is elected by Ukraine. In Russia, in all those dictators, they are not elected, they are dictators, and they'll continue to push the other world. And today it was today it was crazy for me to read the article published by the advisor of Orban, who said that Zelensky did everything wrong by not surrendering to the Russia at the very beginning of the war, and Hungary should have done the same stuff, like surrender to Russia. So Zelensky is now, and Ukraine is wrong because we didn't surrender. The world is coming, not like I see, not a good signs after all. I see not a good signs, unfortunately. But history will teach after all those politicians, and if some politicians will not support Ukraine, they'll have to fight Russia directly after all. The story will tell them, it will punish them for not supporting Ukraine after all. It will be 100%.
I would like to see that dude from Hungary given a choice to surrender to terrorists, and then he will live. I would like to see how he would react to that, like in real life, because it's something so crazy when people twist the reality, when they literally distort what is true, what is not, when they distort good and evil, because generally Ukraine and war in Ukraine is the clearest situation for everybody. There's just literally good guys and bad guys. It's very, very hard to twist it in a way like Russia does it, but still there's a lot of degenerates who cannot distinguish victim from attacker. John Cusack several days ago posted this picture of Zelensky and American representatives signing the shells, and he's like, humanity is so went so wrong. Like, dude, we are defending. Don't forget about this. They don't understand anything because they don't have this experience. They sit there somewhere in their palaces or in a comfort place, and they don't understand anything. And generally, I think they don't care. Orban, people like Trump, J8 Vance, they literally don't care about about international law, about rule-based society. They don't give a slightest damn about it. And it's really, really sad. But luckily, we have a lot of decent people. We are watched by 600 best people that I know. And I'm so proud that we are together and we have this community. My friends, thank you so much for watching this stream. We will be finishing a bit earlier today. Denys, please don't run away. Maybe there's something that you would like to say to our viewers.
Thank you for participating in the stream, and hopefully we're going to make more of that stuff on Operative Starsky channel, maybe on my channel as well. Thank you guys for supporting Ukraine as well, because without you, it wouldn't be possible, without your direct help, because you influence your countries, also your leaders, your governments, and thank you so much for it.
Thank you so much, my brother. Dear friends, thanks for your support. Thank you to all people who keep my channel running, and thanks to everybody subscribed to Denys and supporting Denys. And of course, the biggest thanks goes to everybody who stands with Ukraine, because this is the right thing to do. My dear friends, we will see you next time, and be safe.